of arrogant self-righteousness, as if we built these great pyramids, we're doing all this great stuff, but we do no harm, and only the Europeans doing harm. Well, guess what? We were putting some of our own people in servitude. Right. We were violating some of our own principles, which has much to do with the divisions and why and how the Europeans also ultimately fed on that division and then took over.
Divide and conquer.
It's called divide and conquer. But we're not totally innocent in this thing. This is why we must not take this information and misuse it. Nor must we practice hate or things like that. It's not about hate. It's about fixing this thing and regaining our lost estate and saving our families and our babies, because we're under European occupation of Inquisition policies, and he's trying to destroy us and steal our land and our resources and trying to maintain our civil little more two status under the rule of abandonment and wardship tenures. And Nobudrali says the heir or parent is awakened now. He can take care of his own affairs, but we still trying to be black. That's what our problem is, which means that we still got amnesia.
So you're saying once we all wake up, we can just where do we go? Where do we go to get our rights back? Where do we start?
You begin to be. If you're an heiress, you're sitting in this seat. You got a crown on your head with jewels on it that's shining in these lights. You got gold disc earrings on. You've got the countenance of what some would call a queen. It's a difference between that and you actually recognizing that you own everything here and that you're standing on your own land. The mental is that you don't, that you got to rent this, pay tickets for this, or buy feudal law representation so you can travel across the land. That's what the concept is, and that's what we've been operating, paying on our own land. Different state of mind. Once you understand you actually are the heir of not this building, not just this particular area of Manhattan, that you or what you call Manhattan, the land mass of the entire empire and all resources in it that has been under the control of foreigners that you, out of ignorance, think are Americans when you're the only true American. This is where our problem is, our concept of how we view things, that we must become who we know. We keep trying to get this idea that we need to invent a new constitution, that we need to invent a new country. You're standing in your house.
Right.
And you know what? One thing that we need to use is the tools that's already here.
Yes.
And I stress this a lot to people. Radio and television is how they manipulate the masses of the people. I was watching Dick Gregory one day talking about, what is being put inside the malt liquor. Europeans make the malt liquor, but we drink the malt liquor instead of questioning what's in the malt liquor. So we're not questioning what's inside the water. Let's talk about the lead that's inside the water. If you have lead, it messes with your mentality. So why don't we focus with the children about what they're drinking, what's inside the food? They was joking about my mud water. It's the reason why I have that in there. Just like my sister just said about the food that we're eating. So a lot of this affect us. Why don't we focus on that? That's one of the remedies. Let's focus on the radio. Let's focus on TV. Let's focus on cleaning our insides up. You can say you're a queen or whatever, but if your insides is dirty, that we call it, how are you going to fix anything?
Right.
Come on.
True indeed, true indeed. I know, speaking of media, because you have your radio show and you have your talk show, and you go into schools. You go into schools and you teach this information to high school students who they would never learn these things. And I also share with you, I was in school and I was teaching the children a little bit, but I do know, I had on the board, I was like, the secret society, then the government, then the people, like, and the governments are the puppets, and they're feeding us the garbage. And I was sharing with you because I was excited. Like, I'm learning what I learned. I'm teaching. What are some other sources of media that we can put this information out there to educate people?
I mean, we have it. My producer Mark, this brother pushed me, honestly, because I never thought about doing TV, honestly, and really my whole focus right now is the newspaper, books, television, radio. Because this is how they control, because in doing radio they control the public's opinion. We can talk about this all day long, but if you're not in front of one of these or on the radio putting this out to the masses of the people, it's not going to change.
Now, you know what, I spoke with a friend of mine from Boston, and she mentioned, like, getting into the mainstream media with this information, I don't want to say it's never going to happen, but you're going to be up against a lot when putting this information out to the mainstream media. how can we get into mainstream media with this? Absolutely.
I'm just feeling this, and this is really frustrating.
Okay.
Let's deal with the medium, then the media.
Okay.
Woman gives birth to male and female. If we make sure the women understand this information, we don't have to worry about that media.
True.
Because she will teach them in the highest school known to man. It's called the womb. Okay. That's represented by the Ankh. That's ancient, which is the truth of government. So let's get real.
Okay, but I want to ask something in there, because you do have a group of people who are not
really understand,
who are not conscious, and if we don't put something like, give them something to do, they will never know, because their circles are not aware of this.
Let's say this. Let me just present this.
Okay.
Asiatic African culture, when you go into the state of mind of our forefathers, in order to understand spirituality, in order to understand philosophy, the 7 liberal arts, the principles of science and culture that brought Europe out of the Dark Ages, which our people are rejecting because they think that's his education, not recognizing that the Moors gave it to them. That's what brought them out of the Dark Ages. They overthrew us and threw us into darkness. Now we think we're black, and we need that same education to bring us out of darkness. We keep trying to reinvent what's already there, which is what Brother Sabir was saying. But above it all, and beyond that, with the scope of how we view things, we must start doing it properly in the spirit of our forefathers, from a matrilineal and matriarchal perspective, when actually the things have been dispensed in a patriarchy of Rome, which makes us corrupt. Now, we must be aware of that in order to spiritually digest this information properly, because you cannot violate the laws of nature and not reap the recompense from her, because she doesn't recognize person or station. We're out of order.
But can I interject real quick? This is what she's basically saying. How do we we know that, but she's saying for the people who don't know, when you have people, how many people right now may be looking at this, use Crest toothpaste, use Tom's, I mean not Tom's, Crest, what's the other one? I don't use them, but Colgate, whatever. What's inside the toothpaste?
Fluoride.
What does fluoride do? It's a poison. Awesome. So if we can talk this all day long, but if somebody's going home constantly brushing their teeth with this, it has an effect. And one thing that I love that Karis once said to do, and this is when I was in the school. How many times? I think I've been in 5 times in the school. He said the one way that we can stop violence is to go in and talk about, give a person opportunity and knowledge. Go in to the schools and talk about hip-hop, and then we can bring all this information in. Then they'll be sitting there and wanting to learn. When I go to the schools, they go back, I come back every month, they have a book, they bring out books, say, Sabir, guess what I found? They says this in the Moors. Because you have to give them something. They don't want to sit still long enough to learn this. Because you have so many other things coming at them. What's that thing coming at nighttime? They got this, I don't know what this is. I know, but it's funny because they have something after 12 o'clock, some type of thing they have with women being half naked. Okay. I don't want to hear about that. I'm watching this.
Right.
So how do you combat that?
Can I say this?
Sure.
One of the things that I think we're quite naive, if we think for 1 minute that the Europeans, under the guise of the U.S. democracy foreign corporation that's registered in Delaware with a 501c3 religious organization coming from the Inquisitions, are going to let us teach these children these truths in the schools, that we got another thought coming. We keep building a bunch of churches, mosques, and synagogues, and a whole bunch of other things, but we will not build the institutions that set these things right. It is our responsibility. We've been knocked down, yes.
We got to get
back. But let's not wait for a get-up program. Let's start getting up, taking responsibility for our condition, and start dealing with substantive knowledge and not emotions. And we're going to have to grow up and stop being boys and girls and getting mad because people call us boys and girls simply because we keep acting like it. We must take on the minds of adults of maturity and stop trying to be minors and minorities just because somebody branded us that, and begin to understand the difference. Have a greater respect for womanhood. Women, when they get into power, not to abuse that power, which is part of the fall. Understand yourself from a logical, intelligent perspective, and project things with love, and start using that room to teach your children from the door. Now, the press is one of the most powerful weapons, which is why the Christians spend so much time burning books. Therefore, if you've got information, you're going to have to do what? Put it in a book.
Right.